Preventative maintenance, taking your time to grease your truck, will save you a ton of money over the course of ownership. A grease gun, a tube of grease, will do more to save you money than pretty much anything else in the long run. So ensure you're greasing it. When you get done at the end of the day Friday and you own a truck, even as a company driver, you should still do a good post trip. But when you own a truck Friday, walk around your truck, inspect it, grease it, get underneath, make a plan. Best case scenario, you're ready for Monday. Worst case, you can still get parts that weekend to get you fixed and back on the road. You should never miss a day of work, and a day of revenue, a day of opportunity, because you had a minor issue with your truck that you could have fixed on the weekend yourself, but you chose not to. Instead, you take it to the shop. Being an entrepreneur, you can experience the highest of highs and the lowest of lows all within the same day. All you can do is laugh in these situations. All right, so like I say, we've been running this for about 15 minutes. The oil's a little warmer. Now we run these herd bumpers on everything. This herd bumper has taken a direct hit from a receiver hitch, from a road rage incident. It's clipped the back of an F-150, also from a road rage incident. I like the herd bumpers. I absolutely hate the slam latch system. The ones that have the bolts that go in so they don't rattle are good. Slam latch isn't bad, but you gotta sit there and you gotta adjust it every week. And unfortunately, you're not gonna get a lot of company drivers that are gonna be interested in crawling around on the ground and adjusting their bumper, which is unfortunate. But. And yes, I got stuff everywhere. Leave me alone. That's what I do. Now, if you're gonna be doing a lot of oil changes, one of these, 15-gallon catch drain pans with the pump on it, so you can easily pump it off into a oil storage thing, are very nice. But if you're one or two trucks, especially the older trucks where the motors sit up higher and you could just get a 5-gallon pail underneath it, just do a 5-gallon pail. Take 2 of them, or just take one. One's not gonna get it done. But a 5-gallon pail works just as good, if not better. For the Cummins, you're gonna need just your standard 1/2-inch ratchet. An extension would be nice, but of course I don't have anything where it's supposed to be in the shop. I don't know where everything goes. On these Cummins, hey, somebody even put a quick drain on it. I didn't know that. It's cool. So these are quick drains. They're really nice. So you gotta pull up and over, and you can drain your oil. So the up and over makes it so that it's not something that somebody can just accidentally hit or brush or something. Now, you're gonna have differing opinions by differing drivers on if they're a good thing or a bad thing. I've run them on a lot of trucks for a lot of years. I've never had an issue. I'm not afraid to run them. We run them when we can. I just quite honestly, now that these newer trucks have longer service intervals, it's not as big of a deal to me, so we haven't been putting them on the new trucks. And that's just something you buy at the dealership or Fleet Pride or on the internets. They come with the specific thread pattern to your oil pan. So Cummins have a different thread pattern than like a Volvo motor or something. It still sounds metal. I doubt it though. A lot of these newer motors, they're coming with plastic oil pans. So if you are gonna put one of those in, you need to make sure they're tight, make sure you get your O-ring in there so it doesn't leak, but also make sure you don't over tighten it because with all these new plastic oil pans, real easy to crack them. So then we're gonna wanna punch the oil filter. and let that drain into the oil pan. But once again, on these newer trucks with the set back axles, they conveniently put the oil filter directly over the axle, because engineers don't ever actually work on anything that's not going to fit. This isn't normally the one I use. Side note, I'm still not fully awake yet, so don't judge me. So to get around the joyous setback oil filters, I'll take one of these them funnels, put it underneath the oil filter so that it'll drain into the actual pan and not all over the axle and then in turn all over the floor. So I always punch the oil filters. I don't take them off with oil in them. Makes much less of a mess. Now, they do make fancy dancy oil filter punch things. Me, because I can never remember to order something like that when I need it, should have somewhere. There you go. So I just took a screwdriver, and quite honestly, that bench grinder right there, and sharpened the tip up a little bit. I don't think it's plugged in. But yeah, all I did was make a tip on it. The way I got my nice filter puncher that was actually free. Well, not free, I bought the whole, set of screwdrivers, obviously. And that oil will drain out of the filter into the funnel and then into the pan. So our oil is actually done. We're going to be entirely drained there. So we can move on to the next project while that drains. Windshield washer fluid. Now you can buy windshield washer fluid in 50-gallon drums, 55-gallon drums, but I haven't actually found a cost savings by doing that versus just going to like Fleet Farm or Sam's Club or something when it's on sale and just buying the jugs. So that's one thing where even once you scale, you're using a lot of it. I still just buy it at the Sam's Club, usually actually Fleet Farm when it's on sale. But when we did have a local hardware store, I would buy everything at the local hardware store, even though it costs me more, but it's important to keep your local small businesses alive and thriving. And it's hard to keep a hardware store open selling 2 bolts at a time or something like that. So if you have a local hardware store, yes, you might pay more to get it, but a lot of times you can negotiate the price. They don't necessarily care if they get their full markup if they're selling full pallets. So when I would order full pallets. I'd show up, my pickup, they'd slide a couple pallets in the back of it, and that's how I was buying it. Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, they're no longer open. So now, like I say, usually Fleet Farm, Menards, big box stores, you get pretty good deals on windshield washer fluid. Now, yes, you can just buy it at the truck stop, but it's more expensive. So, stuff like this, it's double the cost to buy windshield washer fluid at the truck stop. Yes, it's a small expense, you might not go through that much, but if you could save half the money, why not buy it in bulk or at a bigger discount and keep it at your home base and have your drivers take it with them? Small things, yes, it's not a huge amount. You're saving probably, I think these were $1.99 at Fleet Farm, probably $6 at the truck stop. So you save $4 a piece. Now, if you're going through one a month, who cares? But with us, running the trucks we run, we're probably going through 40, 60 of these a month. well, that's an additional 160 to, $200 savings just by buying it and putting it on the shelf here. Okay, filters. Filters. So on these 680s, we had a real issue with the HVAC system filters plugging up when we do bulk because of the extra dust. So I do filters HVAC filters every single oil change. Some people don't, but like I say, we had sucked enough dust in onto the condensers that it actually plugged up the AC condensers, and we had to get them cleaned and redone, and it was a nightmare. So we don't do that anymore. We switch them every turn. So these are the pre-filters. Wonder where the regular filters are then. So that's gonna be your pre-filter. Here, air filter. They should be over there. They're not. Why would they be where they need to be? Or I want them to be, or where I think they will be. This is the case of not actually having what I need. That's infuriating. But, okay, so I guess we're not gonna redo the main filter. So I guess I'll put this one back in and make a mental note to get some more airflow. Got these handy dandy little airflow lines on it that tell you which way to put it in there. And then you've got a pre-filter that goes in front of the regular filter. Now, where should you buy your HVAC filters? Local store is not gonna like me telling you this, but Amazon. There is no way to get a better deal on filters than buying them on Amazon. At least the air filters, like for the HVAC systems, because they're so light, they ship easily. So this is one thing that I do not buy at a dealership or a parts store. I actually buy online because it is significantly cheaper there. Hey, look, that's fun. Now, if you're going to be running bulk with one of these 680s, you can buy this kit. It comes with this filter as well as this holder. And then after that, you could just buy the filters. But this helps a lot, catch a lot of that really big dust, bees wings and stuff before it even gets to your other filters. So, pretty nice little thing to add if you have the Kenworths or the Peterbilts to these air boxes to help preserve the life of your HVAC system. So that's still draining, I can see. So in the guise of being efficient, I will put on some gloves and we will move on to the next thing. So should really put this hose somewhere else. So this is an X15 oil filter. We're going to need LF4419. It's going to be an oil filter. That's going to be your fuel filter. Okay, fuel filter on this side. Oil filter on this side. So, where should you buy your oil? If you're a small fleet, any big box store, especially when Shell is having their rebate sales, you can buy them, you can get some massive rebates, but it's only up to like 20 gallons a year. Delco, the other major oil brand does the same thing. So if you pay attention to when those mail-in rebates are, you can actually get your oil for very cheap. You just can't get a ton of it. But if you're a single man operation or you're running a couple trucks, that's actually the cheapest way to buy it. I think in bulk here, we buy it like $8 a gallon or something for a Cenex brand oil. The main reason I buy it in bulk is not because of the cost savings, because sometimes you can even get a better deal at the gallon jugs or the 2-gallon jugs. It's the fact that if you go through a lot of oil, that's a lot of gallon jugs to get rid of at the end of the day. It's miserable. So that's why we went to bulk. Like I say, we do the bulk heavy duty diesel oil, 1540. A little bit more than that. Pro tip, take out enough air hose to go around the back. That way you're not dragging it over the 5th wheel plate. Because 5th wheel plate is greasy. I mean, that one's not very greasy. It will be. This bad boy came from, I believe, Northern Tools. Initially it had a cart so you could put the 50-gallon drum with it and then stick that air pump in the 50-gallon drum. And the whole thing just carted around. Initially I was doing it in 55-gallon drums like that. And then when I went to this bulk system, I just took it out. It literally just sets in there and it pumps oil. So, pretty simple. Once again, don't overthink it. It's not rocket science. Self-filter wrench. Different styles of filter wrench. This is going to be for your Davco pre-filters. You can do the chain style. They work good, but they will crush your filters. But if you really have a stubborn filter, those are great to get them off. And then you've got this style, small, medium, large, as well as the band style. And if you really get crazy, you've got the actual like cloth band wrap around cinch thing. Generally I like these. Fun fact, from the factory, I don't know who torques these filters on, but they need to stop that. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay. So this is gonna be your fuel filter. Once you decide, initially when you're smaller, once again, you're gonna find probably your better deals online, right? One of my owner operators swears by eBay still. That's where he buys all of his filters, is off eBay. I buy all my filters from the dealership, but depending on your filter brand you decide to use, you know, we used to do Baldwin's. You know, a lot of those are still for Caterpillar motors that I don't have anymore, but they're on the shelf. But now we're with Fleet Guard. Each filter company has a filter program. And if you buy X amount of filters, they'll give you a discount if you buy their filters. So something to check into with your dealership. So I get my discount through my dealership. But something to check out once you buy enough, ask your dealership, hey, can we get, you know, on a program with a filter company so we get a better deal. Screw these off. You can also punch these if you want. I do it sometimes. Sometimes I don't. They were not. Now, the joys of a setback axle on a modern truck. Getting these buggers out is a pain. Now with these new filters, it's got a plug in the middle to make sure the fuel does not go directly into the motor. It has to go through the filter. Because of that, I will literally just dump this one into here to prime the filter. Now if I didn't have that plug in there, you probably wouldn't want to do this, because then you'd be taking unfiltered fuel directly into the motor. That's kind of at your own risk, I guess. It's how I do it, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm sure there's somebody that's gonna lose their mind over it. People like to overthink things. And then you pull the center out. Now one thing to always keep in mind, you need to make sure that this rubber seal off the old filter came out. Now I visually checked it, but you can also come up here and check in this housing to make sure that the seal didn't stay in there. If the seal stays in there and you double seal it, well, it will seal. Eventually down the road, it will come off. It'll loosen itself up. It'll spray fuel all over, and fall off while going down the road, and you're just gonna have a bad day overall. The biggest trick with these filters is make sure you get them square with the world before you start. So you kind of pull up on the bottom, push it on there nice and square. Now it's got instructions on here. It says, tighten it to, they're right here. Pre-fill with cap in place. Apply a little lubricant to the seal. I did it with diesel. Hand tighten, and then do 3/4 of a turn with a wrench. This is riveting entertainment, I'm sure. Oh, is he gonna get that fuel filter tight? I don't know. So now on hand tight, you look, you got a B, you got turn to C, it says. And of course, they don't leave any frickin' room behind it anymore. Maybe we'll do an old school Caterpillar motor eventually. Still have a ton of them in the yard. Well, Dad does. That's plenty tight. Now your fuel filter's on. Now this is going to be your water separator. And it's got a line on it that when it gets up to, you need to switch it. This is not something we switch on a regular service. We will a couple times a year, but right now, I'm not gonna worry about that one today. Your air filters, they're pretty easy to switch out. A plugged air filter will really ruin your fuel economy. So try to stay on top of your air filters, keep a good documentation when you put new ones in. See, I've got all the 680 air filters right there for these trucks so that we can quickly switch them out. Keep in mind, if you're a bulk hauler, chances are you're gonna be seeing a lot more gravel roads, which is gonna plug your filters quicker, both on your HVAC and on your motor. So you're probably gonna have to switch out sooner than someone who is doing regular general freight and not being on gravel roads. Just something to keep in mind. Then we'll go back down underneath here. It's barely dripping out, so we'll close it. So close it over, push it down. Now if you don't have one of those, these drain plugs on these Cummins are just the head of your ratchet. So it's as simple as putting it in there and lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Now, initially from the factory, they can be a real bugger. I mean, I don't know who they have doing this stuff at the factory, but they kind of need to stop because it's getting a little ridiculous. So my oil filter is still draining a little bit. If you wait for it to drain all the way out, you're gonna be here all day. Make sure you have a little oil dry. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Once again, checking that you get your rubber seal out. Very important. If you got 2 rubber seals, this will back off. You'll lose your oil filter going down the road. And they're not gonna be happy then. Motors like oil. Oil filters do not have the plug in the middle. Reset. And then you'll want to always pre-fill your oil filters. Otherwise, when you first start your motor up, it's not going to have oil until the oil pump kicks in, and you'll end up running your motor dry and getting some undue wear and tear in it. So always pre-fill your oil filters. Put a little lubrication on the seal. That. It's gonna be the same thing. Lubricate, fill, tighten by hand, then add 3/4 of a turn. Once again, thank you to engineers. if you don't have long arms, you can't do this. You can come in from the top, but you can't physically fill the filter in. So it's a lot easier to do it from the bottom. And for some reason, the angle on these oil filters always annoys me, and it's hard to find. Come on, you bugger. There we go. Then after trying to force it for a while, eventually it just slips right in. I mean, oil filters, yes, oil filters. And then you come up here and you start loosening it, because right and left are super difficult. So oil filter's on. So now we've done oil filter, we've done fuel filter, we've done cabin air filters. Now we need to fill it with actual oil. So in this case, this motor takes about 10 gallons. That reads out in quarts. So it'd be 40 quarts. So normally I'll put 40 quarts in and then I'll check it. And whoever put this oil cap on, ugga the hell out of it. These I go underneath, that way you're locked in. Lock it in and let her go. While that's going, I will try to find a grease gun. I know where there's one. Now, types of grease. Battery's dead. Now, there's different types of grease, and people on the internet are going to argue about it for days. I haven't found a real good place to buy grease in bulk. I just buy it same place, Fleet Farm, when it's on sale. They do the same rebate stuff for grease as they do for oil. So you can buy it there, but important to keep in mind, grease is going to be, we'll wait till that compressor's done. Okay, so there's different types and different brands of grease. People on the internet will argue nonstop about them. For most applications in trucking, grease is grease. You're not doing wheels or something like that, so it's not as big of a deal. So I just use whatever was on sale. In this case, it's red. Not red tacky, but red. So when you come to grease, you're gonna have your steering shaft here. It's gonna have wool in the U-joints. And they're not gonna take much. Steering shafts are, those are little U-joints. So I can't actually get on this one here, so we can start it up and turn it later. I'll probably forget, to be honest. But then you're gonna have them on your ball joints on your steer side. These lock-on heads are really nice in some situations, but in others, they suck. Sometimes it's hard to get the Zerk to accept grease. Well, we might have to do that one after we start it too. So then you're gonna have one back here on this ball joint. See, they're nice on those ones. Now, probably the most important thing, and what's going to save you the most money, is being religious about greasing your kingpins. So that's going to be this shaft here that has the front of your tires. So this is where your tires are allowed to pivot and steer. Now, if this becomes loose, you'll get a lot of play in your front end, and you'll get weird tire wear. Your steering will be loose. So it's important to keep these well greased. Now, if you grease them religiously, they can last 1,000,000 miles. If you don't, they're not going to, and it's a quite expensive repair. So I'm gonna watch. Grease came out there, so we're good. So there's gonna be a top one. Now, if it's drum brakes, chances are your grease zerk is gonna be directly on top, and you're just gonna go straight down. With disc brakes, they cant it off to the side like that because you have your disc brakes on top. Now, disc brakes limit the amount of grease zerks you have. See, I got some grease coming out. Now, if you have drum brakes, you're gonna have a lot more grease zerks on the slack adjuster, on the S-cam shaft, and all that good jazz. So, disc brakes are really nice for a lot of reasons. That's why I ordered them. But they do also have their downsides of being more expensive from the factory. They have some issues. Most of those have been worked out. You know, the earlier ones had a lot of issues. But we'll do a little tutorial on disc brakes and adjusting them and all that good jazz at some other date. So, not to 40 yet. As a single man owner-operator or woman owner-operator, single person owner-operator, once again, the best thing you can do is religiously grease your truck. Your week does not end when you get back to the yard when you own a truck. Whether you have 1 truck, 40 trucks, whatever. Your week ends when you have gone around your truck, checked everything to ensure that you're ready for the next week, greased it, and know you're ready for the next week. You should always do that Friday when you get back. Now, I realize Friday, especially if you've run all week, you don't really care about greasing your truck. But if you wait till Saturday or Sunday before you leave and you find an issue, no place is open for parts, you're missing work, you're missing money. So on this truck, you're gonna have these spring shackles to also grease. You have one here, one over there that I have to go back to. And then on the back spring shackle, because this one must have been made on a Friday. Some of my trucks, the grease zerks are on the outside, real easy to get to. This one, they're on the inside because someone decided to do that at the factory, and I have no idea why. So now I'm at 40 liters. I'll wait for it to settle, I'll check the oil level, and then we'll start it for a little bit, let it run for only like about 20, 30 seconds to get oil in the system, then we'll check her again. So, on the back of these, if you had drum brakes, you'd have the end of the S-cam shaft to grease, you'd have the shaft itself, and then you'd have the slack adjuster to grease. Because these are disc brakes, there's no grease zerks on the brake system itself. Now, on the U-joints, there's 2 different types of U-joints that they make. They've got greaseless and greased. The way you tell is if it has a grease zerk on it. So this one, usually the grease zerk is gonna be on one of these corners of the U-joint. No, it's not there. It's not there. It's not on the bottom. So, these might actually be greaseless U-joints. I usually order them greaseless, if I remember. But Once again, it's one of those small line items that are easy to miss. Yep, so these are greaseless U-joints. There's no grease zerk on them. So you do not have to worry about greasing these ones. And we've had greaseless U-joints last over 1 million miles on high horsepower trucks. If you're not, rocking back and forth and doing stupid stuff. So I wouldn't be afraid of the greaseless U-joints, but just be aware that if you have them, you don't need to grease them, but you still usually do have a slip shaft that you need to grease somewhere. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't see a grease zerk. Okay. And since I know what you all came here to see was me, wallowing around on the floor underneath the truck, we'll try to facilitate that. Once again, you have no grease zerk on these at all. So these are greaseless U-joints. And we don't even have slip joints to grease. So that is really weird. Interesting. And it is good to get under your truck, take a gander. Our air dryer on this truck is tucked back here. I did have an issue. This one was leaking out of this pop-off valve on the bottom. Pretty bad. Driver said, hey, need a new air dryer, it's leaking. Because I've done this long enough, I realized, no, you don't. You need a new pop-off assembly. You can buy these for like 60 bucks. The whole air dryer is like 800. So rather than replacing the whole air dryer, we just replaced this pop-off valve, which is relatively simple. It's just a snap ring in there that you pull out, and then the whole unit pulls out. You lubricate the new one, slide it in, put the snap ring back in. Verifying, no grease zerk. So this is the wet kit on this truck. So because we run belt trailers, we have to have, and food grade pumps, wet kits. So this is the PTO, hooks on, circulates hydraulic fluid, creates hydraulic pressure so that we can run our belt and tankers. So if you're underneath and you don't see any of this stuff, that's fine. Not all trucks have it. It's actually pretty rare. It's more of a specialized thing. The cost to them to put them on, where we do it, and we just pay to get brand new everything installed. I don't want to worry about it, is about 10,000 bucks. So, if you have a wet kit on it, your truck, it's an asset if you can use it. If you're not using it, it weighs an extra 400, 500 pounds, and it's actually holding you back from getting your max payload. So you got to make sure you use it. Now, this is dry powdery rust. I don't remember the page. It was some state trooper in Indiana that said dry powdery rust is always an indication of something's loose. So in this case, these bolts are loose. Now they've got a crush nut on them, so they're not going to get any more loose. They probably just got some play in this plastic or in this rubber bushing. If you were so inclined, you could get back underneath here and tighten those up. Same with this. This is just hanging here. Most guys aren't draining their tanks anymore in the modern era unless there's an issue. I don't know last time this tank was drained. And then moving to the front, I need to really stop saying like I said before. So, because someone at the factory was having a bad day, frickin' Kenworth, these ones for greasing these spring shackles are on the inside rather than the outside where they should be, nice and easy to get at. So you either gotta crawl underneath, or if you're tiny enough, you can slip in behind the tire, but it's just, stuff like that just annoys me. Once again, magnetic lights, flashlights, worth their weight and gold. Then you don't have to hold it. Now, once again here, you can see that could be some dry powdery rust coming in, which means probably this wasn't properly greased the last time it was serviced. I've got grease coming out here, so that one's good. Now, I've done these spring shackles myself, replaced them. They are a pain in the butt. So I would highly suggest just greasing them now so that you don't have to do that later. But if you're into punishment, you know, and swearing and probably bleeding, you can certainly ignore my advice. Don't grease them and end up replacing them. Now, a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times, so these will come loose on primarily Peterbilt and Kenworth, because this is kind of a PACCAR thing. I see grease coming out over there, a good sign. When they come loose, you'll get a clunk in the front end when you turn, because it'll actually allow this spring shackle to slide back and forth left to right on this hanger. So just know if you're getting a weird clunk in your front end, only when you turn, and generally only when you turn one way and at low speeds, this could potentially be your issue, is that this bushing in here, or this shaft that holds it in the spring shackle, has worn to the point that the spring is allowed to go left and right when you turn, and the clunk you're hearing is going to be it hitting these hangers. Now, if you look at the inside of the hanger, if that's happening, you'll see bare metal where it comes in, impacts, then you hit a bump, rubs, and it makes a bare metal on the inside. Now, you can fix that by taking off one of these sides, putting on a washer or a spacer. They actually make shims to do it, but that's just a temporary fix. Eventually, you will have to replace it, and if you let it go long enough, you'll end up replacing that leaf spring too. I can see the grease coming out the other side. We're good. I don't want to crawl back with that. So we've changed the oil, we've changed the fuel filter, doused that side of the motor in diesel, you know, because we did. And we got oil over there because I got distracted talking to my cousin instead of paying attention to the filter. But, you know, that's why they make oil dry. So we got new oil in, we got the filters changed, we got everything underneath greased, even though these were greaseless drive lines. It's good to check. If they weren't greaseless, you would have a grease zerk on every single one of these U-joints, as well as you would have slip joints right here and on the back one that would also have a grease zerk on your actual drive shaft. Just once again, opportune training here. This truck came equipped from the factory with the APU prep kit. This truck came equipped from the factory with an APU prep kit. That's what this thing is, these extra coolant lines. So if you had an APU on it, now this has a battery APU, it does not have an electric APU. The reason we added these were in case I wanted to run in-transit heat. But these valves underneath, if you ever develop a leak back on your APU or something further back, you could just close these valves and it'll stop the flow. Your bunk heater will also always have its own coolant lines coming to it. Maybe this one has hard lines. That's kind of cool. But a lot of your older ones, you'll have coolant lines coming back to the bunk heater, and you'll have valves on your firewall to shut it off. And if you've ran a really old school truck, you will know that if you leave the coolant lines on, your AC doesn't work worth a darn. So there will be times where you will start in the morning in Minnesota, you'll be cold, so you'll have to run with the heat on. And then at the end of the day, or in the middle of the day, you'll want AC, you'll have to stop and shut off your valves. And then at the end of the day, you'll have to open them again. Now these ones here, so these should be your lines that go back to your bunk heater. These are going to be the lines going into your heater core. These new ones, these have automatic valves to stop the flow when you're running your AC. The old ones did not. Another random tip, if for some reason you're running your AC and you're getting condensation on the floor of your truck, it's because this drain here is plugged. So this lets the water out, and then there's a second one that comes from within the firewall. It's right here. In the bulk industry, these can get plugged with junk as the water comes out, and then it won't let the water escape your condenser in your dash, and eventually it'll overflow, and the floor of your truck will start getting wet inside. And all it is just this little rubber hose here. Just clean her out. Other random miscellaneous tips and tricks. If your fuel tanks aren't properly leveling, like one is getting sucked way down and the other one is still holding a bunch of fuel, a lot of times it's these vents here. They'll get a little junk in them. And if it can't pull air in, then it won't equalize. So I'm gonna get something to clean that out. Hey, look, a screwdriver. I left that there just for this occasion, I swear. So you're gonna wanna clean those out to make sure they work. On this truck, like I say, it's got a battery APU. So this is actually a second AC condenser that runs off the batteries housed in that box. This truck actually has 8 batteries to run that AC or that AC condenser. So not all of them will have it. That's what that one is. You know, this truck we did, got this nice little storage thing. It's really nice because we take our hydraulic lines off, store them in here, hydraulic oil. They're really convenient. You can buy them online all over the place. Half fenders, running the cat eyes on these. So I needed new tires this weekend. Now BFG is a second tier tire. They're owned by Michelin, made by Michelin. But when we're talking about tiered tires, tier 1 is your top tier. Thinking of a good example. We're gonna go with import cars. You're gonna have to deal with me here. So tier 1's gonna be like your Porsche, whatever their SUV is, right? Top tier. Tier 2 underneath that, that's gonna be your Audi version of the same SUV, because it's the same SUV underneath, it's just not as good, right? Third tier is gonna be your Volkswagen. Fourth tier is gonna be, I don't know what comes for a fourth tier in this analogy, but yeah, it's like when multiple companies make the same thing, but one's really good and then they just slowly go downhill. Same thing with tires. They have different tiers. You know, a lot of times the technology underneath is the same. It's just something's different on the top. Now, for most applications, you're going to want to run a closed shoulder, which means this outside shoulder is not treaded like that with openings. Now what that does is that it gives you increased fuel economy, it lowers your rolling resistance and gives you somewhere to drive. However, it doesn't get as good of traction in the mud. So if there is a situation where you think you're going to be in a lot of mud, a lot of field work, a lot of off-roading, aggregate stuff, you can get an open shoulder. Now, you're still going to get stuck though. So I would just say you run a closed shoulder all the time. Put some treads in the middle. This is a good middle of the road tire as far as getting some traction, but also getting longevity and good fuel economy. So if you're interested in low rolling resistance tires, there is a list on the FMSCA Safer or Smartway website of your different types of low rolling resistance tires. Low rolling resistance tires are good for low rolling resistance, bad because they generally come with pretty shallow tread depth, which could mean they have a lower life. Doesn't mean they will, means it could. So now we've got our 40 liters in, or quarts or whatever. We'll double check this. Okay, so we're right in the middle of full. So then we'll hop up in here, we'll start it, turn it on. With these newer trucks, you gotta give them a minute, especially when you just change the fuel filter. You'll hear that winding. It's fuel pump. It's still filling, still filling, still filling. And then we're gonna be filling all day. See if it goes. Now it died because I didn't let it fully fill with fuel. So we'll reset it. We'll listen for the fuel filter to fill all the way up this time. So you can hear it's right here, it's filling it up. Some of the older ones, you're gonna have a primer pump. The Caterpillars, you'll turn it and it's actually a plunger pump. The Volvos, that one's just a push one. You don't have to turn it, you just push it in and prime it up. So the older ones you may or may not have to prime. These newer ones, they do have fuel pumps on them that will fill the filter. It's an electric pump. Well, that fills for time management purpose. Let's go put some frosting on the cake. Now for our fifth wheels, we don't use tubes, we use bulk grease. You can buy 5-gallon drums of it or 5-gallon pails at Fleet Farm or wherever. It's a lot cheaper than if you buy it in the tubes. It's also generally a lot lower quality, but it's grease for a fifth wheel, so it's fine. Now we do have some greaseless fifth wheels in the fleet. However, those are all now greased fifth wheels because with everybody dropping and hooking trailers and not having designated trailers, either everybody has to run greaseless or everybody just has a greaseless with grease on it. Now why do we grease our fifth wheel? So that your trailer turns. Having a poorly greased fifth wheel can lead to excess tire wear because your trailer can push you in a certain way, especially on your steer tires. You can have some really weird steer tire wear that's strictly related to the fact that you don't have enough grease on your fifth wheel. So back to that whole maximizing profitability through little things that you can control that aren't, that don't cost you much. Grease your fifth wheel. Just the act of greasing your fifth wheel will increase your tire life, thus increasing your profitability. Preventative maintenance is huge. All right, fuel pump's not going. See if she goes. And yes, I'm EMR certified. Now I take off my gloves. So there you go. That truck's completely serviced. Only thing I have left to do, if I feel like it, is adjusting that bumper and checking the oil one more time once it drains back to the bottom. So in conclusion, preventative maintenance, taking your time to grease your truck will save you a ton of money over the course of ownership. A grease gun, a tube of grease will do more to save you money than pretty much anything else in the long run. So ensure you're greasing it. When you get done at the end of the day Friday and you own a truck, even as a company driver, you should still do a good post trip. But when you own a truck Friday, walk around your truck. inspect it, grease it, get underneath, make a plan. Best case scenario, you're ready for Monday. Worst case, you can still get parts that weekend to get you fixed and back on the road. You should never miss a day of work and a day of revenue, a day of opportunity, because you had a minor issue with your truck that you could have fixed on the weekend yourself, but you chose not to. Instead, you take it to the shop. Now, it sounds fine, but you do that too many times, you're gonna lose out on all your revenue and you won't succeed. So I've watched a lot of young owner operators do that. They get into their truck, they're all excited, and then they don't maintain it. They don't take the time to do the work themselves. They take it to the dealership. But between the cost of repairs at the dealership as well as the downtime, it ends up depleting their bank account quickly, and then they can't stay in business, unfortunately. So do what you can on your own, and know that it's not just about saving money fixing it yourself. It's saving time and opportunity cost with being able to get back to work, getting it accomplished on the weekend so that you can hit the ground running again. Now, yes, I understand we all want to have a little time off. I would love to. For the last 2 months, I think I've had 2 days off, and I've been averaging 12 to 14 hours a day. It's the reality of where we are right now. There's a lot of work to get done. There's a lot of stuff, maintenance. You know, I'm driving and doing all that. As the owner, that's my job. To do all the things that need to get done when they need to get done to the best of my abilities. When you buy a truck, just assume the first 2 years you will not have a life outside of owning that truck. Now, after 2 years, if you got a good nest egg built up, if you bought a decent truck, maybe you have it paid off, then relax. But you really need to focus those first 2 years. Don't think of weekends as time to go have fun. Think of weekends for maintenance and extra work. It's a good lifestyle owning a truck after you have established yourself. Getting established with owning a truck is kind of difficult, and if you don't stay focused, you won't succeed. So that's servicing a truck. I am going to close it up, go load a tanker, then maybe another tanker, and then potentially go farming after that. We'll see. Not sure yet. Go team.